Hello everyone, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today, on this random Sunday, I'm recording this video on Sunday. Tomorrow, the Black Widow and Morbius trailer should be coming out, and this is gonna be another top 5. Now, this is the top 5 villains in the MCU. The Infinity Saga is wrapped up. You know, I wanted to kind of get this video out here just so, because like I said, the Infinity Saga's wrapped up. I'll probably make a top 10 Marvel MCU heroes as well. But I just wanted to get this list out there, my personal opinions on it, because the MCU has been criticized of having bad villains. Now, granted, that is a mixed bag to me, because I've always thought to myself, because to me, the MCU didn't really have a villain problem per se. They just didn't have strong villains. Like, I think Obadiah Stane in the first Iron Man was a solid villain. I think Red Skull was a solid villain. I thought Loki in the first Thor was a great villain. And I thought Loki in Avengers was a great villain. Abomination was an okay but solid villain. That's what I thought the MCU was doing. They were just having solid villains that were there to help the hero grow and to be a reflection of the hero, or be the opposite of the hero, and just help the hero's journey go on. And that's what the Marvel has been focused on, is the heroes. Now, to me personally, Marvel does, and now I'm not going to sit here and tell you Marvel doesn't have some bad villains, because I personally I don't think Eldritch Killiam, though I don't think Killiam is a bad villain, or at least as bad as people think, aka, you know, the fake Mandarin, he wasn't that great. And I outright, me and Seth get into it, I hate Whiplash. I think Whiplash was a terrible villain, and I also think Malekith is one of the worst supervillains of all time. But I also don't think that Ronan was that bad of a villain. I thought he was just a solid villain. He didn't have a lot of depth to him, but he did what he was supposed to do. He gave the hero something to do. You understood why he was doing what he was doing. He was powerful, he was intimidating. He just did his job. You know, he was like, so, you know, like, it's one of those weird things where I'm like, well, I mean, he did what he wanted to do. It doesn't make him any less of he's just, you know, it's not his movie. And Marvel's always sort of focused on the heroes, because that's the bread and butter. Because Marvel kind of realizes, like, yeah, it is great to have a great villain and a great hero, but the thing is, people are coming there for the hero. They're coming there for the hero. They're coming there to have a good time with the hero. So it's nice to have a great villain and all, but the only way that you can have a true great villain, and if you think about it, really, all the movies where there's a great villain in them in the MCU, at least most of them, are movies where the hero's already been introduced and you've already gotten a vibe for the hero, so they can kind of take time out of the hero to give more time to the villain. But I digress. This is my top 5 villains in the MCU. Now, I need to start off with number 5. Now, my number 5 and number 4 can swap, but as of right now, I think Michael Keaton's Vulture in Spider-Man Homecoming was fantastic. He is perhaps my favorite Spider-Man villain of live action. Now, to me, there are 4 big Spider-Man villains live action. Obviously, Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, Green Goblin, and the Vulture, and the one that comes after him. But Vulture, to me, is fantastic. Michael Keaton, Oscar-winning Michael Keaton, delivered this performance with so much earnest. And the cool thing about this version of the Vulture, the original version of the Vulture is kind of like this. It has a weird story. He's this old man in this weird skin-tight bird suit that's somehow technological, and he wants to steal the youth of Peter to become a young man again. He has this weird, he's like a rich billionaire, he's like this rich old man who has this bird suit, wants to steal Peter's youth. The old school Vulture is just weird. It's weird, and it doesn't quite make a lot of sense. But this version of Vulture is a working class man, blue collar man, who got screwed over by Tony Stark, and he's doing what he thinks is best to get what he thinks he is owed, because he was generally a good man doing a legal job, and he got pushed to do things. It's a traditional, he got pushed to do bad things, but by the system. And there's this interesting feel of him. It's like, he's not a bad man, he's not an evil man. He's a man who's trying to get what he deserves, or get what he perceives he is owed. And and that turns him into a villain. He's trying to feed his family, and that turns him into a villain. He's a great character. He had Michael Keaton did it great. The car scene where he's like just staring at, where he's just making Peter nervous was great. The twist of him being Liz's dad was great. The fact that he didn't rat Spider-Man out gave him even more complexity. The fact that he didn't even want to kill Spider-Man and that he wanted to let him go gave him more complexity. Vulture is a great villain and a great example of how to reinvent a superhero character, because this is a different Vulture than any of the comic book versions, and this is maybe the best version of him. It's because he's the most relatable version, he's the coolest version, he's performed by an Oscar-winning actor. Michael Keaton did a phenomenal job. Vulture is my number 5. My number 4 is Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio. Jake Gyllenhaal crushed it as Mysterio, and I love Mysterio. If you know me, Mysterio is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, because he's a lot like the Riddler in the sense that, you know, Batman has to get through a bunch of hoops to get to the Riddler, but once he gets to the Riddler, it's a KO. But he's smart, he's arrogant, he's just squirrely man who's just arrogant to a fault, and he's just like, people believe what I want them to believe. He's delusional, he's self-granding, like Mysterio is that. And the idea that this normal man, just a man, in a world of superheroes, is why I like Zemo, in a world of superheroes, this man could actually, with just technology technology, could just affect Spider-Man on that level. But Jake Gyllenhaal crushed it as Mysterio. He was great. I loved how he baited Peter in. He was always, you never quite knew who he really was. But then when the switch happened, he was almost like an anti-Tony Stark. Just this flamboyant, this charismatic but just arrogant, just charismatic and arrogant in the negative way. He you know, the whole thing about him and creating the barf technology and being fucked. Also, he's another guy who got fucked over by Tony Stark in a different way this time. And him gathering this group. And this version is different too. The original Mysterio is a one-man show. Like I said, it's comic books. So he created these tiny little cubes, and you just carry around with them and do all these illusions, and he's just doing them by himself. This one makes even more sense. It's a team effort. Mysterio as a villain isn't even one man. He's Team Mysterio. Like, when you say Mysterio, it's like, okay, yeah, Quentin Beck is the head of this, you know, but he's just the director. He's just the director, and he's the director, and I guess the producer. He's the director and producer of this, but he has writers. He has people who are he has artists and writers and graphic designers, and like this whole Mysterio thing is fascinating. And Mysterio is an interesting character because he touches the idea of playing with truth and how truth can be subjective. It all depends on what you're willing to believe. So Mysterio is my number 4. Number 3, Killmonger. Killmonger was a phenomenal villain, played by another Oscar-nominated actor, Michael B. Jordan. Now, Michael B. Jordan, I've never seen him play a bad guy, but he played Killmonger with so much passion. And, like, there was this vibe about Killmonger, just this dangerous vibe where you can see the pain and the anger. And he was a man, and this touched very topical things, who went through the system, and the system could create some pretty rough things for people. But Killmonger represents not being able to let go, not being able to be the bigger person. He held on to his anger. He let it just fester in him, and it turned him into a monster. It turned him into a hateful man. And there is this one scene with Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger, and his father when he gets the Black Panther herb. That is just so sad. It was just super sad. I thought about it, kind of made me cry a bit when his father's looking at him and he's like, "No tears for me," and he's just like, "People die." And it's just, he's still this boy. Deep down, he is still this boy holding his father's dead corpse. The sins of his father, and that's kind of what Black Panther is about, the sins of his father. What his father did has weighed on him without him even knowing it, and he has become a monster. He has let his anger, his frustration, his justifiable anger, his justifiable frustrations turn him into a monster, turn him into a killer. And Michael B. Jordan did such a phenomenal job of putting that over. Also putting over the fact that it's like you guys should do more. In fact, a great villain is a villain who changes the perspective of the hero, or at least brings something to the hero's attention that he didn't think about before. And Killmonger did that to T'Challa. By the end of this movie, Black Panther realized we have to do something. We have to help people. So Killmonger is number 3. Number 2, come on. It got to be Loki. Now, Loki isn't a villain anymore, but in the early days, Loki was the shit. He's Shakespearean to the point of, like, literally, Loki's story, if, like, Thor Ragnarok was literally directed by freaking Kenneth Branagh, and if you don't know who Kenneth Branagh is, he's done a lot of Shakespearean shit. Like, he's done a lot of stage plays and, like, Shakespearean stuff and, like, Macbeth and shit like that. So, like, Loki is so classic. Like, to me, Loki is great, good old-fashioned classic villainy, because he's a villain who's not pure evil. Because even in the first movie, the first time you see Loki, he doesn't even want to kill his father. You think he doesn't even want to kill his father. He just wants the approval of his father. He just wants to be seen as an equal. He just wants to be seen. He just wants to be heard. And he's going about it awfully, but deep down, he just wants to be heard. He just wants to be seen. He just wants to be loved. And he doesn't, and he just feels like he's being lied to. And he goes about it the wrong way, but Loki is great because he's a complicated villain. He's a villain with layers, but he's also a fucking hysterical villain. He's a charming, charismatic guy. Tom Hiddleston is killing it, and it's so great that the MCU found Tom Hiddleston because he's just been all over the place doing great jobs in a whole lot of things. And honestly, like, Loki will always be the role that he's associated with, and it's okay because Loki is a fantastic villain. Tom Hiddleston does a great job with him. He's charismatic, he's charming, he's dangerous, he's wily. He's a wily villain, so you never quite know what he's gonna do because he doesn't even know what he's gonna do. I love the line in Thor Ragnarok when Bruce Banner sees Loki and he's like, "So last time I saw you, you were trying to kill us. Where you at these days?" And he's either like, in this literally, you finally get an insight into Loki's mind. It varies from moment to moment. That's Loki. He's just like, what angle can I play? What angle can I play? Maybe I'll be a good guy today. Maybe I'll do something bad. I don't know. What angle can I play today? What angle can I play? Like, I love that about Loki. And in the end, he came full circle. He died for his brother. They're making a show, but this is a different Loki. The Loki I'm talking about came full circle and died for his brother. So Loki is number 2. Number 1, come on, guys. We know who number 1 is. And if someone tries to tell you he's not number 1, they don't know what they're talking about. Thanos. Thanos is the big bad that we've all been waiting for. He is, without a shadow of the doubt, going to be known as, he will go down as history as one of the biggest villains of all time. Because he is one of the biggest villains of all time. Like this is going to sound sacrilege, but he is on the scale of Darth Vader. Because if you really sit back and think about it, people are going to be talking about that, like, forever. Every villain that comes out after this is going to be held to the scale of Thanos. And, like, every big movie franchise is going to be thought of as, like, oh, you're building up to your Thanos-like thing. I mean, think about how much talk he was talked about. I've never seen a villain more talked about than Thanos. He was the most talked about villain I've ever seen outside of Heath Ledger's Joker. Think about that. He's the big bad of the entire MCU. He was worth the wait. Josh Brolin does a fantastic job of giving Thanos this death of this pathos that he truly wants to save you. And he feels like the only way he can save you is to kill half of you. But understand, it's nothing personal. He doesn't want to thank you. He doesn't want to take over the world that's left. He just wants to save the universe. And he feels like this is the only way he can do it. He feels like anyone who disagrees with him is being childish and short-sighted. And that's the thing I love about Thanos. He loves his daughters. He loves his daughters. He doesn't, and by the time he gets to the Infinity War, he doesn't want to needlessly kill people. He doesn't kill a single Avenger because he wants the stones to decide. He wants the stones to decide who lives and dies, and he wants you guys to live a happy life. He truly does. But the CGI work, Thanos is, in my opinion, so far at least with technology, maybe something next year will come out and blow it away, the best CGI job I've ever seen. Josh Brolin They made him. The skin looks real. The ticks in his face looks real. He has fucking stubble. You can see the pores in his skin. You can see the wrinkles. You can see like it's so nuts. Thanos' design is so fucking ridiculous. It made me go, yo, man, the MCU can just do whatever the fuck they want to do, man. But yeah, like Thanos is number one. Bar none. Now I'm gonna list a couple, maybe 3 honorable mentions. I think Hela was a very good villain. I'm one of the few people who really do dig Zemo. I also thought Ghost was a great complicated villain as well. But yeah, and Marvel. I know people are kind of gonna get at me at this. I like Marvel. I thought Marvel was a good villain because he was a complicated villain because he doesn't really hate Carol Danvers. In fact, he really likes her. He doesn't even want to kill her. He defends her, but he is the villain. But like you can see this weird relationship that's not just typical muhaha villain thing. You can tell this is going in an interesting direction, especially when the second Captain Marvel comes out. But that is my top 5 MCU villains. List your top 5 MCU villains below. Let me know what yours is. Thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.